So now let's understand Ind AS 10 and 9. So along with 10 and 9, we'll also going to study Ind AS 32 and 107 simultaneously. Okay. So three of this Ind AS we're going to understand together. So now let's begin. Um, Now what is financial instrument? So financial instrument means a contract which will going to create financial assets in one entity book and financial liability for another. Okay, for example, I'm issuing debentures, so for me it will be a financial liability, and for the person who is purchasing that debenture, for that person it will be a financial asset. And suppose in case if I have issued convertible debentures, so in that case my liability would also be to issue equity shares at the time of redemption. Okay, so it is a contract which will create financial asset for one entity and financial liability or equity instrument for another entity. Okay, so now let understand ki what is financial assets, what things are being included in financial assets. So cash and bank balance, then equity instrument of any other entity. Suppose I have made investment in Reliance. Okay, I have purchased Reliance equity shares. So that is my investment. So I will show it as an investment in financial assets. Okay, in balance sheet. Then there is a contractual right to receive cash. So suppose I have made a sales to my debtors and my debtor will going to pay me after 2 months, suppose. So my debtor will be my financial asset because there is a contractual right कि I can recover amount from my debtors. Also, there is other example like bills receivable, investment in debentures. Okay, suppose the debenture is redeemable on cash. So in that case, I will have right to receive cash. Okay. Then there is investment in preference shares, loan given. Okay, when there is a contractual right to receive equity instrument of any other entity. Now I have already given example above that I have issued convertible debentures. So if I have purchased convertible debentures, so in that case I will also receive right to receive equity instrument in future. Okay, there is a contractual right to receive equity instrument. Okay, जो मैंने डिबेंचर्स लिए हैं वो रिडीम कैसे होंगे बाय कन्वर्टिंग इट टू एन इक्विटी शेयर्स, तो फिर मुझे इक्विटी शेयर्स मिलेंगे इन फ्यूचर. ओके, so that will be now considered as a financial assets. Now derivative contract, we have already studied what are the derivative contracts in AFM. So the derivative contracts which are favorable to us will going to be classified in a financial assets. Then what is financial liabilities? Now there is a contractual obligation from my side to deliver a cash, to pay the cash. Now there is an example like creditors. Now I have to pay to my creditors. I have to redeem my bills payable. I have to redeem my debentures. Like that way. So that will be classified under a financial liability. Then there is a contractual obligation to deliver other financial assets. Suppose I have purchased some goods from my vendor, for example, for rupees 2 lakh, and I told to that vendor कि I don't have cash to pay you, but I have made investment in Reliance share, so I will going to give you that shares, suppose in 1 month. Okay, so whatever the goods I have purchased from the vendor, I will going to pay that vendor by giving my equity shares. Okay, so there is a contractual obligation to deliver other financial asset. Okay, so that will be also be classified under a financial liability. तो एक जगह यहाँ पे क्रेडिटर आएगा और यहाँ पे तो हमारा इन्वेस्टमेंट है ही. ओके, like that will be shown इनिशियली, एंड व्हेन जब भी पेमेंट हो जाएगा वो फिर यहाँ से उतना इन्वेस्टमेंट हम लोग लेस कर देंगे और हमारा क्रेडिटर हम लोग नलीफाई कर देंगे. ओके. Then the derivative contracts which are unfavorable to the entity. Contract to issue variable number of own equity shares. Now suppose again I have taken some goods from my vendor for rupees 2 lakh, and I told him that I will give my equity shares of value 2 lakh in future. So here I also don't know ki how much equity shares I might have to issue in future. So in that case we will be consider it as a financial liability if there is a variable number of equity shares, because at this point I also don't know how much equity shares I need to be issued in future. Okay, so that will be also be classified in a financial liability. Now what is an equity instrument? So first there is a asset. If we will see the balance sheet format as per schedule 3, so there first is a assets, then there is a equity and liability. So in equities and liability there is equity share capital, and then there is another equity. So whatever is there in equity share capital will be classified as an equity instrument. Okay, so an equity shareholder will always going to have a rights and net assets owned by the entity. Okay. So, if there is any statutory right to receive cash or statutory obligation to deliver a cash, that will be not classified as a financial assets or financial liabilities. Okay, so as per income tax or as per GST, if there is some refund or if there is any liability to be paid, that will be not considered as a financial assets or financial liability. Will not classify that statutory liabilities here. Okay. If an entity issues preference shares or debenture or takes loan in a case of the borrowing, it okay. So now whatever the entries we are doing here, whatever the adjustment we are learning over here will be from the point of view of issuer. Abhi suppose I have issued debentures, okay, so I need to see more deep into it to do the accounting. But the person who has purchased the debenture, for that person it is clear that it is his investment. Okay, so वो तो इजी हो गया कि उसके लिए तो वो इन्वेस्टमेंट है और वो असेट में हम लोग इजीली शो कर देंगे कि हमने इतना इन्वेस्टमेंट किया है ये. बट एज एन issuer I am facing difficulty ki how I have to disclose this liability, whether I have to disclose this as a financial liability or an equity instrument. Okay. Sorry. So now whatever the interest and dividend we are getting on borrowings, suppose that interest is a mandatory in nature. Okay, हम लोग का डिसाइडेड है कि मैं डिबेंचर पे इंटरेस्ट जो है वो मंथली I will pay. Okay. So in that case, I will show that interest as a financial liability. But it is of a discretionary nature. So I have issued debenture and also I have to pay interest on it. Okay, but the nature of that interest payment is of a discretionary type. Discretionary type means कि मेरा मन होगा तो I will give you interest. मेरा मन नहीं होगा तो I will not give you. So that type of interest we will going to show it as an equity. Same goes when there is a redemption. Okay, so when the redemption is going to be on a cash, okay, then it will be as a financial liability, but it is an irredeemable or perpetual, then we will show it as an equity. Okay, then there is a variable number of, okay, one second. If such borrowing is convertible in nature, okay, suppose I have issued debenture of a convertible type and I'm going to redeem it by issuing variable number of equity shares. Okay, देखो variable number of equity shares हम लोग financial liability क्यों दिखाते हैं? Because at this point of हमें पता ही नहीं है कि हमें कितने अपने equity shares देने पड़ेंगे. ठीक है? It can be any number. So for that reason we show it as a financial liability. और अगर रिडम्पशन जो है वो फिक्स नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स में होने वाला है, सो एट दैट टाइम आई नो कि हाँ मुझे अभी मेरे 100 शेयर्स देने पड़ेंगे रिडीम करने के लिए. So in that case we will show it as an equity. Okay, but if there is an option कन्वर्टेबल का ऑप्शन है, सपोज आई एम एन इश्यूअर, मैंने डिबेंचर इश्यू किए हैं, ओके, और वो मेरे पास ऑप्शन है, मैं चाहूँ तो उसको इक्विटी शेयर्स में रिडीम करूँ, मैं चाहूँ तो उसको कैश में रिडीम करूँ, तो ऑप्शन इज ऑन issuer side. So in that case, we will going to show it as an equity, because Ind AS के हिसाब से ऐसा है कि अगर issuer को ऑप्शन दिया है तो there is a more chance he will choose equity. So it has recommended to show it as an equity, but the option is given to the holder, to the person who has purchased that debenture. Okay, so that holder is having the option. So in that case, that instrument will be called as compounding financial instrument. So now what is a compounding financial instrument? Is a mixed feature of both financial liability and equity instrument. अभी मेरा जो होल्डर है वो तो स्मार्ट है, ओके, अभी देखो होल्डर को तो मैंने ऑप्शन दे दिया है कि होल्डर चाहेगा तो उसको इक्विटी शेयर्स में रिडीम होगा उसका डिबेंचर, या तो फिर वो कैश में रिडीम होगा। तो मेरे होल्डर के पास ऑप्शन है कि ही कैन रिडीम द डिबेंचर्स बाय टेकिंग माय इक्विटी शेयर्स और बाय टेकिंग पेमेंट इन कैश। ओके, सो नाउ होल्डर जो है उसके पास ऑप्शन है, तो मुझे भी पता नहीं है कि व्हाट ऑप्शन दैट होल्डर विल गोइंग टू चूज इट। अगर मेरी मार्केट में प्राइस ज़्यादा है, ओके, तो ऑब्वियसली my holder will going to choose equity option. Okay, so at this point of time I don't know what option he will going to choose it, so I will show that instrument as a compounding financial instrument. Okay, because it is having feature of both financial liability and also equity instrument. Okay, okay, now this is already I have explained above कि जो भी हमें एंट्री करनी होती है इश्यूअर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से करनी होती है, because for the holder it is an investment, he can directly show it as an investment. So whatever the interest and dividend we are getting on the financial assets and the financial liability will be going to be recorded in a P&L, and whatever the dividend income we are getting on equity instrument will be recognized in retained earnings. ये हम लोग क्वेश्चन के साथ देखेंगे तो अच्छे से समझ में आएगा। ओके, सो आई विल जस्ट शो यू द शेड्यूल 3 जहाँ पे हमें क्लासिफिकेशन करके दिखाना पड़ता है एक्सेल। सो देखो, दिस इज नॉन करेंट एसेट, और नॉन करेंट एसेट के अंदर देर इज अ क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ फिनेंशियल एसेट्स। तो हमारे जो भी हमने यहाँ पे देखे ना फिनेंशियल एसेट्स, तो वो हमें उसको यहाँ पे बाइफिकेट करके बताना पड़ेगा कि दिस इज आर ट्रेड रिसीवेबल, दिस इज आर लोन्स, कि हमने लोन दिया होगा किसी को, so for us it will be a financial asset, right? So we're going to disclose here separately, and also the investments if we have any. This was about non-current, so in current also, which is less than 12 months, we have to show it in a current asset. So in current assets we'll show it as a financial assets, and same, see, cash and bank balance, the loans. Okay, same is there in liabilities also. Let me show you. See, non-current liabilities, financial liabilities like borrowings, trade payables. Trade payable is like a contractual obligation to pay the cash, to deliver the cash. Okay, so trade payables also come in a financial liability, and here we have to disclose any other financial liability which we have discussed over here. So if there is any liability which is coming in this criteria, then we have to disclose over here in a balance sheet. And suppose if it is a current liabilities, we'll show it here. Okay,